Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for stage 17 of La Vuelta, the second last mountaintop finish. We have the finish on Moradero. It's not a Unipuerto, I think technically it's 144 Ks. There is actually like a lot of rolling terrain before, 3,000 plus meters of climbing. But yeah, it's not that hard beforehand. There is though, like the run into this, there's a 3K 6% climb through Ponferrada, and then the narrowest roads, like in this false flat uphill valley, and then they do a 1.5k 9% climb, a short flat section, and then 5k's 11%, the Alto de la Cruz. It's then 3k 7% to the top, goes up to 1,750 meters. It's like the wind was very, very strong on this climb. There's and usually when there's strong winds in an area like this, there's the possibility of bushfires. And we actually saw the scarred terrain because there's both the burnt out trees and landscape combined with some wind turbines as well. So wind hugely important, maybe impactful on this stage. What was the chatter pre-stage, Benjamin, about the wind?
Well, there was quite a bit of chatter about the wind on the final climb, the El Moradero climb being too much and potentially leading towards the final climb being adjusted or taken out, stuff like that. But I never saw like official communication that it was severely in danger, stuff like that. Just rumors from within the peloton, etc. So that ended up not happening. Spoilers. So we had a final climb, which is good news, I would say. But outside of that, not necessarily too much changed after yesterday's podcast. And we were leading into today's stage with the question, is UAE Team Emirates going to fire up this stage? Is Vingegaard a bit better today? The fact that he spoke 1.5-2 days ago about having been ill last week and coming back from that, stuff like that. Or do we see attacks from Hindley, stuff like that? So quite a bit of questions on the table today. Or would a breakaway win today? Spoilers, there was a breakaway, but it didn't win.
It did not win. So Visma, maybe Vingegaard was feeling good because they're controlling for the stage win. And when you have the GC lead, you know, when you control for the stage win, it also creates a risk because if you're not the strongest, even if you don't get put on a gap, you can lose time to bonus seconds. You can lose 4 seconds here, like on Anglerud. Vingegaard lost 4 seconds to Almeida. So obviously you pace when you're confident that your rider is the best chance or the biggest chance to win the stage. Kelderman and Van Baarle basically doing what they wanted at the front of the race again.
Exactly, and the break, which was about 12 riders, I would say, Rivera, Mikkels, Tiberi, Tejada, Gamper, Van Boven, Rosengregor, Nicolau, Lozouet, Samitier, and Leemreize, that break was kept at 1:40 the entire day by Kelderman and Van Baarle. So Visma clearly had the idea going into this stage, we're going to try and control the breakaway, and we'll try and keep the stage win as a possibility for Jonas Vingegaard, because, like you said, if you pace an entire stage like today, it's because you want to try and win the stage. So Vingegaard had his eyes on the victory today, and we'll see what happens on the final climb. But I must say, not much happened before this final climb. I was half napping when I was watching today's race, and it's really it's not from the foot of El Moradero, but like you said, there's this climby segment towards the foot that actually ramped stuff up already, because I was looking at the peloton, and Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe came to the front. Then I like that. I liked seeing Red Bull coming to the front. And especially because they were lighting up the peloton at a speed that was dropping people. We'll get to the last climb soon, but this is still before the last climb. And Red Bull pacing leads to Juan Ayuso dropping with 12 kilometers to go. Felix Gall dropping. Leo Béziot trying desperately to try and bring back Felix Gall before the actual climb properly starts. And it's a motorbike crashing in a descent somewhere. But what do you think, Patrick? Would this motorbike, in the darkness of that descent, not have crashed if they had exposure lights on his motorbike?
I don't think so. I think then you see the corner coming better. Maybe the riders don't even need a person signaling them that there's an obstruction on the road ahead, because they have the lights. But I mean, this sort of area, you can see you have in the UK, it's very common. In Germany, In maybe densely forested areas, you have these narrow roads with like, it almost looks like this place never gets sunlight because it's such dense tree coverage, and the road was really slippery. The motorbike slipped out. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. When the days start to get shorter, it's already happening here. I've had to, you can see on the YouTube version of the podcast, I keep having to adjust the exposure on my camera because the days are getting shorter and they're getting gloomy, and the right lights make all the difference. Exposure Lights have been building world-class bike lights in the UK for over 20 years, known for their brightness, smart technology, and long run times. I also use Exposure Lights. I have one always in my backpack when I'm out on the trails, and then when it's getting dark, I whack it on my head as well. And so they have a whole variety of lights, from compact front lights that make sure you're seen to powerful beams if you're in the early mornings on unlit roads that they can cut through the night. And every road model uses road-specific beam patterns designed for cycling. I mean, the Strada SB, it's the signature road light. That bad boy has 1,700 lumens, and I don't actually know what a lumen is. I don't know what, but I've seen that. I got sent one. I was like, holy shit.
The more the brighter.
Because it's not that big. Like, yeah, it's not a tiny little light, but it's not that big. You can easily put it on your bike, no problem. It's not like you won't even notice the weight of it. And I was like, holy, I took it outside because I live on a farm, and I got no street lights out after the storms there. I took it out. I was like, oh my God, the cats were so mad. They're like, it's not daytime. I was like, well, I got the Strada SB.
Now it is.
Now it is. I felt like Dumbledore with the what was the device your man used on Privet Drive?
You still don't know whether it's Gandalf or Dumbledore, so let's not pretend you've seen Harry Potter.
Dumbledore had the light thing that when he came to Privet Drive, it took out the street lights on and off when McGonagall was as a cat, like in the opening book. Anyway, I felt like Dumbledore. This is not a scripted read. I've gone off topic. Anyway,
but I've heard that exposure lights cannot be taken out by Dumbledore. That's what I heard. And anyway, back to the racing. I got
to do the promo code. And right now you can get 15% off. You can get 15% off all road lights with code LRCP15. That's LRCP15. That's valid until the end of September 2025. So you've just got the Vuelta or just after to use that code for some really high quality lights. Thanks, Exposure Lights. Okay, I'll let you get back to the race.
Just like Dumbledore said, the final climb came exactly as it needed to be. We have El Moredero, which is steep climb, Rampa and Humana in certain sectors, and Visma bike took over just before the foot of the climb. In doing so, Red Bull Bora had already thinned out the herd quite a lot, and there were like 2 riders left for UAE. It was Van and Grosschartner by the time the actual Moredero climb started, and it didn't take long for that to become even worse. But at the foot of El Moredero, when Visma bike had Tullet at the front, it took maybe 30 seconds before there was a UAE rider, maybe Grosschartner trying to move up as well to try and take the front position to do the tempoing. And then Jorgensen and Tullet, Jorgensen first, moved past them again. These teams were literally fighting for front position into the climb. And Jorgensen eventually won over against the UAE rider. Then Tullet started pacing again. And that's when we saw riders dropping again. Felix Gall, who came back just before the foot of this proper climb again, once again off the back. Jay Vine dropped. Felix Grosschartner dropped. So 8 kilometers to go, Patrick. UAE Team Emirates, Joao Almeida completely isolated. That's horrendous by the team.
Yeah, it was early on the climb. And you know, when it's the last 6 or 7 GC riders and they're attacking, you can't criticize, you know, a UAE domestique for not being there. It's not realistic in the first place that they can be there. But like, Ben Tullet was there. Ben Tullet hasn't been climbing better than Vine, better than Grosschartner, better than Ayuso. Ayuso dropped on the flat run in. I'm telling you, he's winning the TT tomorrow. Like Ayuso, I think him dropping early when Bora were doing the flat drag, I was like, he's winning the TT tomorrow. Or maybe he's sick. I don't know. But yeah, Almeida was isolated. Did it make a difference? Not really, to be honest. It's 5Ks, 11%. For moral support, maybe it's better. If Almeida, I think it's a bigger problem if Almeida was looking like he was about to win this Vuelta, because if he wanted an increase of pace at a certain time, he has no one to do it. Like, Visma just start pacing with Tullett, Jorgensen drops, it's a group of 8, and they look content to do that. And then Hindley, he attacks.
Yeah.
Vingegaard goes with Pidcock. They have a group. Almeida's behind. Here a teammate. There could in theory be a teammate still here just to close that gap progressively for him. Still, it's on 12%. But I actually didn't think Almeida was like it. You can't really call it getting dropped if you elect to just do your own pace.
If you drop by your own decision, you don't get dropped, is what you're saying. So as long as the rider himself decides to do it just before they're about to get dropped. Okay, anyway, you said it. That attack from Jai Hindley came. Pidcock, Riccitello, Vingegaard were in there. Riccitello as well, super strong today. Pidcock as well. And you said it, Almeida doing Almeida things, but Almeida doing Almeida things hits different in this Vuelta for me. Because at that point with 5.5 kilometers to go when Almeida was off the back and had to crawl himself back, it didn't feel the same to me as on other days when he does that. It looked more labored today. And I already had a moment there where I felt like, okay, Almeida's not looking that powerful today. And then the question is, does Jonas have it today to try something to try and expose that weakness? So we'd see whether that happens, because Almeida does truck himself back, does choo-choo himself back towards the group with Vingegaard, Jai Hindley, and so forth. And then the race kind of becomes half standstill to the point that it takes 1.5 kilometers for the next attack to come, and it's Pellizzari making a move now. Riccitello following, so the white jersey battle here seems to be on. Pidcock ends up closing that, the rest in the wheel, and at the end of the day, that attack is then neutralized again. With 3.5 kilometers to go, Pellizzari tries again, and now he's got a gap. He's got a gap with 3.5 kilometers to go. Jai Hindley is blocking the tempo behind.
And bear in
everybody
mind,
is allowing... Go ahead. Sorry.
To make clear to the listeners, the 5K is 11%. That then levels out at 3.6, and that's when the Pellizzari attack really stuck. That's where Riccitello has bigger problems. On the really steep gradients, he looked $1 million. On 7% with crosswind, now it's not as favorable for Riccitello.
And Riccitello reacts after 20 seconds only, which means the gap already exists. In doing so, making it more difficult to close, because when the gap is 20 seconds and Riccitello attacks, then he closes down 10 seconds, and then he's like, okay, if I close it down, then I might get countered, blah, 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 blah. So he doesn't end up... He should have just set a normal tempo, in my opinion, because isn't he behind Gullin GC who was dropped? Or am I inventing that shit?
Nah, no.
I feel like there was someone off the back.
You're correct. He's still behind him after this stage by 2 seconds. I wasn't even thinking... He should have been pacing. For starters, can Riccitello podium? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The TT tomorrow is hanging over his head. Can he win this stage against Pidcock, Almeida, Vingegaard, Hindley after 3K 7%? No, he can't win. 3K 300 meter 10% punch, Riccitello can't win the stage. He has a battle with 1.5 men. His primary battle is mano a mano, white jersey, Pellizzari. Secondary battle, both of which are complementary, is taking maximum time on Felix Gull in GC to move into sixth. And yeah, Pellizzari before this stage was within 40 seconds of him. Pellizzari was 32 seconds in front of Riccitello, and you never know what happens on Bola del Mundo. So yeah, TT, I expect him to get smoked, but still, I think he has nothing to lose by just pacing the front of that group. I don't know why he was attacking them, because say he attacks the group, gets to Pellizzari, what will happen? Pellizzari will just stop because Hindley is behind. So he's never winning the stage. So yeah, he was surprised after the stage that he was like, and I understand, he thought, oh, well, Vingegaard, he just had his team pace all day. He's going to want to do something for the stage. Almeida wants to drop Vingegaard. He's going to accelerate, right, to drop Vingegaard. Pidcock might want the stage. He hasn't won a stage yet. Is that correct?
Who?
Pidcock hasn't won a stage, or has he?
Correct.
Well, so we are vindicated.
Well, he may or may not have won it in Bilbao if the last 3 kilometers happened, but we don't know that.
And he's third on
We
GC
are
and would have
vindicated.
won, probably would have won today if he had a domestique
He's
from the
literally
GC,
third in
from the
GC.
GC group. But no, he hasn't won one.
Anonymously written as well.
But take, if you put it if you note the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
take is not technically incorrect. Just very embarrassing.
But I will say, throughout this period of Pellizzari making moves, and before Pellizzari even attacked, I looked at the group and I said to myself, okay, Almeida, he looked like he was struggling coming back already earlier. It wasn't just Almeida things that he was doing, but in hairpins, he was gapped every single time as well. So I wasn't expecting it from Almeida, but then I looked at Jonas Vingegaard, and with about 4.5 kilometers to go, I sent to our group chat, they both look shit today. I did not believe either of them had the legs today. Jonas was struggling a bit as well when the attacks came from Hindley and so forth. Not as much as Almeida though.
well, that was the weird thing. Like, Vingegaard was riding defensively against Almeida, extremely defensively, by reacting bang on the wheel every time Hindley attacked. And I know he's like a bit behind him on GC, but it was quite strange. Like, Koos was 12 seconds behind. So,
Yep.
if you're just going to play Almeida, I don't know why he didn't go to the wheel of Almeida, because then he's still spiking his watts, getting into the middle of the battle between Pidcock and Hindley. So that made no sense. It also was quite strange that the whole team paced all day today, and Vingegaard just doesn't relay with Pidcock or Hindley, doesn't try anything, because as I said, he's countering them in the wheel the first few times. It's not like Almeida was getting gapped. Almeida was labouring. If Almeida felt half decent, he's not stupid, and he's ambitious. He's podiumed a Giro before. He wants to win the Vuelta. If Almeida felt half decent, he's pacing from 5Ks to go. He's just setting a diesel tempo on the steep section, and like on Angleroo, which he already did. He clearly didn't feel good. But yeah, Vingegaard rode extremely passively. In the end, he gets gapped on the finish, but still then why react on Hindley and Pidcock? Why put the team to pace all day for the stage win? Because the stage win benefits, if you're just looking from a GC perspective, just benefits the person in second in a worst case scenario, because you put more bonus seconds in play.
Yes, but I will say, I think it's fair for Visma to control this stage, thinking that Vingegaard can compete, and then on the climb, to find out that he does not have the legs to compete for the victory. That is a realistic possibility of the sport of cycling. But I agree that there were moments today, like when Almeida was gapped the first time, where I expected Vingegaard to pull in that group ahead, which he didn't. And that's the moments where he rides too passively then. But that being said, towards the end of today's race, it just looked to me like he also didn't have the legs, just like Almeida. So I looked at this group, and ironically, the two weakest riders in this group looked like Vingegaard and Almeida to me. Which is a crazy thing to say.
Also, Pidcock and Hindley were the ones attacking all the time. Like, Hindley and Pellizzari did it really well. Riccitello was strong enough to respond. So, strange finish, very passive. And Bora get rewarded for their depth, because, like, UAE might end up with, 8 stages, but keeping Koos and Jorgensen in GC, how has it helped?
I don't really know, because on the opposite side of things,
they can't go on the break.
Exactly. That's the point I was going to get to. Because they're now close in GC, so a top 10 rider would have responded to them if they tried to go in the breakaway, hypothetically. Might not have happened either. So I do think they've tried to go in the break, and it didn't work a couple of times because they are so close in GC. So...
like Pellizzari is like, Israel are not going to let them in the break. Like, they're going to defend.
It's not very different from McNulty, with the differential that when they do need to domestique, they will.
Yeah, that's but the issue is you cannot domestique on 5Ks 11% when it starts to kick off, but then it stops going in the breakaway. So,
especially when other teams are strong enough to explode it and put Kuss and Jorgensen in trouble before it's just a mano-a-mano fight between the big guns every time. Because then they never come into play.
Pellizzari is stronger than Kuss, so then before Kuss returns on the last 3K section, Pellizzari is able to start rolling attacks with Hindley, and Pellizzari gets away. He wins the stage. Very strong performance. It was very similar to his attack on stage 16 of the Giro, where he attacked before Simon Yates' attack, and he wins the stage, wins the biggest race of his career. Holy, that was his first professional win. So there you go.
Yes, because Pogacar robbed him the other time, right?
Because Pogacar stole from him in the Giro. And wow, for some reason I just thought he'd won like a Tour of the Alps stage or something. He wins Pidcock second on 16 seconds, a gap of 2 seconds to Hindley. So Pidcock takes 4 seconds to Hindley. Hindley third on 18 seconds, takes 4 bonies. He gaps Vingegaard, who's on another 2 seconds on 20 seconds, and then Almeida on 22 seconds. So the strange thing is, Vingegaard and Almeida weren't lying with the legs. They get gapped by Pidcock and Hindley, but Vingegaard, despite, not doing his best performance, he still takes time back on Almeida, and the time Almeida's gained on Angliru has been netted out now. So he's back on 50 seconds, which was their gap after stage... something like stage 10, I don't know.
Whatever. We know what you mean.
Yeah. So the TT is going to be pretty important tomorrow.
Very much. And I do want to get us through the entirety of the GC ranking before we start discussing the time trial, because Jonas Vingegaard is first on 50 seconds, or 50 seconds ahead of Almeida. Pidcock in third place on 2:28. Then on 3:04 is Jai Hindley. 3:51 is Giulio Pellizzari. So Bora in 4th and 5th. Decathlon AG2R Felix Gall on 4:57. Then we've got Riccitello on 2 seconds only, so mistakes were made today, in 7th place. Sepp Kuss on 6:24 on 9th place. Torsten Traan still in 9th place on 7:06, and the battle for 10th place is now in the hands of Matteo Jorgens ahead of Junior Lesser, after Lesser lost a bit of time today. So that is what the top 10 looks like. But when I look at this top 10, I think to myself, Jai Hindley looked like the strongest rider in the race today in terms of, Pidcock as well, to be honest. So we got to give them both the credit there. I would say that despite them looking that good, their gap after the time trial tomorrow, they're not in the picture to do a crazy battle and win this Vuelta or something on Bola del Mundo. The gap is too large, and especially after tomorrow, where I expect these two riders to lose at least half a minute to the riders in front of them. So that's when I look at Vingegaard and Almeida, and it's really the discussion there of, okay, can Joao Almeida take back 50 seconds in tomorrow's time trial? No, that's impossible to me. I would argue that, before I start yapping about that, let's go through the profile. 27 kilometers, mostly flat. Looks like exactly the same time trial as 2023, but with 2 more kilometers.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. It's fast TT.
So my point that I was trying to make when it comes to GC was, if I look at the time trial, it's very difficult to predict this time trial, because the form of these two riders is very different than the time trials they've ridden throughout this year. At Algarve, both of them are not in great form at Algarve. Then at the Tour de France, Jonas had a bad day in that time trial and still only lost 7 seconds to Almeida. So when I think about this time trial tomorrow, I think to myself, the average of all their time trials is Vingegaard taking a little bit of time on Almeida. Whether it's 10 to 30 seconds is my assumption. It could be the other way around, but I don't see the positions in GC changing tomorrow. For me, this Vuelta is decided on Bola del Mundo.
If Almeida had taken 20 seconds today, then you can see maybe a 30-second gain possible on the TT, because he's been strong enough to. But Almeida getting gapped at the end, and you can say, oh, Almeida's not punchy. Not true. Like, actually, on this sort of finish, when he's in good shape, he's been very good this year. He's been stronger than Pidcock and Hindley. So, like the end of stage Farapona, he gapped Hindley and let out Vingegaard. So both their shape, but then again, they should still have their way better time trial riders than Hindley and Pidcock. So you're right. If Hindley was going into Bola del Mundo on 50 seconds, it could be possible, but I don't see it. Well, he won't be going in there on 50 seconds, is more importantly. So we've got an intermediate time check, halfway up the only hill, 27K. Yeah, I'm going with Ayuso to win this.
Okay. So if we take a look at the full start list, then we have Filippo Ganna still present. He's been missing a few times because I swear I've seen him twice in this race, which was leading out Ben Turner and trying himself on stage 3 or something.
They should have gone for the FIFA player.
For Langolotti.
Yeah.
La FIFA player. Took me a second. Who was the guy on Burgos back in the day that had a PlayStation addiction?
What do you mean?
The guy on Burgos back in the day before Langolotti. The Spanish guy.
I thought Langolotti was the FIFA addiction from Burgos.
No,
they had multiple
the guy
guys
that
with
won,
a PS4 addiction.
The guy that won the Vuelta stage in 18, 19?
Oh, yeah, when there was 2 of them against... Was it 2
I was on the podcast.
against,
it was later. 2020 or something.
Yeah,
against Jetsebol.
Yeah. Let me find it.
But Luke should know this. Jetsebol, it's your nephew, basically. I'm looking.
It was 2020.
No. 2021? 2020? I'm going through the list.
It was Madrazo against Herrada.
Angel Madrazo was the guy that had a FIFA addiction.
Really?
I think. I could be inventing all of this.
Let me check his Twitter.
Can't blame him. I've had gaming addictions my entire life, so.
Yeah, MLB The Show.
I killed the Ender Dragon yesterday, so. I'm the real winner of this Vuelta.
Nothing on Twitter. Let me check his Instagram.
Patrick doesn't give a fuck about my gaming life. He just doesn't care about me.
I don't know what game you're talking about there. Gaming.
Yeah, the Ender Dragon is the villain in Pro Cycling Manager.
Yeah, I can't find any info about that. But anyway, the TT, I think Ayuso will win. Vingegaard's TT has been inconsistent this year. Probably expect, 10 seconds on Almeida.
But what about Pidcock and Hindley?
Pidcock did he do a passable TT before? In the Giro, no, they were mid, but they weren't disgraceful. Their team time trial was very good.
Well, that's irrelevant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he looked good.
Hindley should be taking time on Pidcock tomorrow.
Hindley's ITTs have been mid.
Let me check. No, they're fucking equal.
Yeah, they're both just mid at TTs.
If you can call it mid.
Pellizzari, much of a muchness.
Similar.
Felix Gall, stinky. Riccitello, stinky.
I think it's similar level TT wise.
I think Felix Gall against Riccitello is the TT mega battle tomorrow. 2 seconds between them.
Is there really a battle there?
What do you mean?
How shit is Riccitello at time trial? Because Gall is very shit.
Bro, how about Rich? He's so small. It's a flat 53k an hour TT. What do you mean?
He's gonna cook.
You're taking Riccitello in the head-to-head in the TT
against
tomorrow.
Gall.
Yeah.
I generally don't know. They're both terrible at time trial.
Are you taking Riccitello?
Don't think I want to actually. Wait. I'm looking at. So he got 55th at the UAE Tour flat time.
That's not bad.
Felix Gall got 26th.
Yeah, Gall I think should beat him.
Gap was a solid 20 seconds.
That's in 12. Was that in 12Ks?
Is it Riccitello or Riccitello, by the way? Because I keep saying it wrong, I think.
I don't know. Italians got mad when we pronounced the place Riccione. I think we said it incorrectly. So I'm scared.
Don't care. Sorry, Italians.
Gall should beat him in the TT. He should put 30 seconds into him.
Yeah, he should.
He should. And then the GC standings tomorrow. What changes do I expect?
But I'm backing Riccitello anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any changes in the top. In the top 7. Jorgensen will move up. Nah, I don't think there'll be any GC order change in the top 10.
I don't think so either.
If Jorgensen was in Ku's position, yeah. So,
then it's interesting, but
yeah.
I'll look at this now. I don't think there's any changes here.
Yeah, so that's not very exciting. Anyway, that's a TT. Today we also had Giro della Toscana. Isaac Del Toro dropped Michael Storer on the last climb. It was a sketchy wet descent. And then, it all came back together behind him. Storer snuck away with Steph Kras, so that was Del Toro winning again. Storer second, Kras third. I thought it was quite an exciting race. So Del Toro wins his 13th, no, less than that. 11th race of the year.
Good ride by Seb Berwick.
Now, am I allowed to do a pitch or not?
Of course you can.
Because sometimes I root for my guys. Sometimes I'm just doing it tongue in cheek, but legitimately, Astana should sign Berwick. He's the only guy positioning himself there. He's following double Storer, Jan Christen on that climb. His bike is 2 kilos heavier than everyone else's bike. And I know the numbers he's pushing. He's pushing more than all the guys in his group. He is worth a shot for a team that does these Italian Cup or French Cup races to score 500, 600 UCI points a year.
But that Italian Gaffuri guy is now riding for Polti Visit Malta as a trainee.
Yeah, but Gaffuri's legit also a powerhouse.
Yeah. Pinarello, who got 4th in that race, just signed for IPT, I think.
That's rumored from Benson. I saw he tweeted that, yeah. Pinarello, 3-year deal at IPT. But yeah, I think a lot of teams should look at their roster and honestly ask themselves, do we have 5 climbers on 20 minutes better than Seb Berwick in a sport that's mostly about climbing? And I think the answer is no. So get the lad in.
Visma Leasebike is one of those, I'm afraid.
They will, yeah, I mean, would Berwick...
Louis Team Emirates after today need someone. They couldn't get 2 kilometers into the climb.
We joke, but Berwick's better than Balderston. Would Berwick have beaten Pellizzari today? Maybe. Maybe. Anyway, otherwise around the traps, the Ardèche stage was cancelled due to protests, but different protests. The French Prime Minister was ousted after a vote of no confidence. Fortunately, me and Benji don't actually know any...
What?
Yeah. The French Prime Minister got ousted because there was a vote of no confidence.
I listened to that yesterday.
And then there were protests, and then the police all got called to deal with the protests. So there was not enough gendarmerie for the women's Ardèche race, so the stage got cancelled today, and I don't know if it will continue. So
shameful display.
That,
but I'm gonna say something here, something super controversial, Patrick. Bola del Mundo's coming up,
and protests.
Well, there were some tweets about activists protesting for environmental reasons. I'm gonna have to comment against the sport of cycling here for a second, because first of all, for the context, there's no spectators allowed, I think, in the last 5 kilometers of the Bola del Mundo stage. The reason for that, Patrick's already celebrating, because he's like, no spectators, my dream world is here, is what he's thinking. But
if someone is losing a Grand Tour in devastating fashion, all you want to hear is the silence of their hopes and dreams.
The tears rolling down their face.
Like when Carapaz and Roglic were there, and all you can hear is the ambient sound of just the moto and just them pedaling and just, yeah, oh, he's losing. He's losing.
Okay, my point was going to be, the reason that there's no spectators allowed is because at the top of the mountain, just like Teide in Tenerife, etc., it's a national park, and there's a fragile ecosystem, biodiversity, etc. And the last time the race went up there, the spectators trampled the plants and the flora. And that's why people got angry, which I kind of understand. So it doesn't shock me that spectators are not allowed in the last 5 kilometers.
Exactly.
If what we leave behind as a sport of cycling is trampled plants, then I cannot stand by it.
And then say the race organizer, I mean, they don't charge ticket fees, so they can't. It's not like they can then say, "Oh, well, here's a pool of money to fix that." Not
Grow
that you can
plants.
Yeah,
I don't think that works that easily in a national park with biodiversity.
Tell that to the celebrities that gave money to Kawhi Leonard's fake tree company.
Koala who?
So there's a NBA player who signed with the Clippers, and so they did they have a salary cap in the NBA.
Okay.
Allegedly, maybe not, maybe could be, maybe not. There was then a contract between a company from the owner of the team and the star player for an extra $28 million, which doesn't go against the salary cap, for him to promote it was a company that it was like Mr. Beast. It was like Mr. Beast, except celebrities would give money to the company and then they would plant trees to offset them destroying the planet. And he got $28 million for signing some autographs.
So
not
wait.
Not to circumvent the cap.
Wait. So we're talking about trying to offset the damage done on top of Bola del Mundo by taking in ticket sales, and you associate that with an athlete being paid more outside of the salary cap to circumvent the salary cap. Where the fuck is the association?
Because neither work. Because the plants and the environment still get fucked.
If neither work, why don't we get Juan Ayuso in the discussion? He's a valiant member of r/anti-work.
He's going to win the TT tomorrow. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Alrighty. So Bola del Mundo, for the ambient sound aficionados, you will be enjoying that finish. But otherwise, we've got the TT tomorrow. Hope you enjoy the recap and see you with the one tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.